This is the first video in the series for Microsoft Word 2013, and so this is going to be like a really basic introduction for anybody who hasn't used Microsoft Word before, and this is the first program, the first version that they're starting to use with, or you haven't used Microsoft Word in a while. So in this video I'm going to talk about the basic interface. I'm going to talk about entering, editing information, because Word is used for entering data like letters or typing pages and research papers. We'll also try to look about highlighting and cutting and pasting, saving and printing. So I'll be doing it step by step and taking you forward, so hopefully in 4 to 5 videos give you a really good foundation that you can say that you know Microsoft Word and you can put that in your resume. So when I started Microsoft Word, this is the way it opens up. There are some samples here that they have quite a few samples that you can pick from. So you can see really interesting things. And then you just have to go in and fill in the information, and this will be downloaded from the internet. They also have like different, like for letters, they have templates already built for letters, so you can download the template and then just fill in the information, and you can go by different categories. I'm just gonna hit back. And they also have like resumes and cards and calendars. They have different templates that you can download, and you can change the pictures on it, the wordings on it, and make it the way you want it to be. And usually your recent documents will show up here on the left hand side, and you can always open on the left hand corner. You can always open your existing document if it's not listed here. Now I just want to do a blank one, so I'm just going to click on the blank, and it opens up like this. Now for some reason my ribbons are hiding, so I'm just going to double click here on the word home, and it should show up. So what happens is these are called tabs and these are called ribbons. So if by mistake I double click on it, it is hiding. It shows up when I click on it and it hides when I click away. So just double click on it one more time if it ever happens like that, so it stays there. Now you never have to double click, you just click one time. So before we get to the actual word, let's look at some of the wording, some interface issues. So there's the file button, under which you have saving options, printing options, sharing options, exporting options, and then closing a file. And you can also go to the options for Word options. So this is what I think they call it, like the backstage kind of a thing. So when I click on it, I'll get an options window in which I get to go and make major changes to it. I'll get to it in one of my other videos, but you see I can put my username, what's my name, so my files will have that name associated with it. And there's a lot of different options that you can go through here. So that's the file button. Then we have these tabs, the home, insert, design. So all of these are known as tab, and within the tabs you have ribbons. So these guys are known as ribbons. So each tab has different types of ribbons, which we'll talk about as we go forward. If you look in the right hand corner, we also have the zoom button. So this is that plus sign here in the corner where it says 100%. If I hit the plus sign, the screen starts to get bigger, and when I hit the minus sign, it starts to get smaller. I can use these sidebars to go up and down the pages. I can also use the down arrow to go down, and I can use the up arrow to go up. Now if my screen was big, so I'm just going to increase the zoom. As I start increasing, I'll also get the sidebar. So this bar is only visible if your screen is big, otherwise it won't be visible to go sideways. So I'm going sideways. I can reduce the zoom, just something that will be easy to look at. Now when you do a zoom, it is not affecting your actual printout. It is only affecting how you see it. That's like, you know, when you read a newspaper and you get a magnifying glass, so you're just magnifying your things. Along with that, on the bottom next to the zoom, there are these buttons. One is called, the first button is called the read mode. Next to it is called the print layout, and the next one is called web layout. It's just different views to look at your things. Right now I am in the print layout view, so I can see my margins and everything. Now you could always go to the View tab here. In the View tab, you have options to impact your zoom. Now in the view, I can also tell it to view the ruler. So when I click it, you see now I have the rulers, the margins. I didn't have this before, so now I can see that on the top it is leaving 1 inches, on the left hand side it's leaving 1 inches, and also on the right hand side. So under view, I can choose to do that. And again, up here too, I have the option to view outline. Can view as a draft, so it shows me. You see in the draft, I don't see the top margins, so I have a bigger screen size to look at. The margins are still there, it's just not visible. And I can go back to view print layout so I can see my margins, and I can come back to home. So don't get confused if you don't see some of the buttons. Just make sure you come back to the home, because that's where some of the important buttons are. The other thing to look at is these buttons here. These are what's called the quick access button. You know, in construction people have like a belt so they can get to look important buttons. So this I can customize it. So right now it has the save button. This one is called the undo button, which we'll talk about. Then this is going forward button, and this is called the print preview button. So I can have a look at my document and also print it from the same button. But if I go through this button which says customize, so this is good in Word and in most computer programs. Now when you point to a button, it tells you what it does, so you don't have to memorize anything. So if I click here, now I can say, you know what, I want a spelling and grammar button. So when I click it, it adds it there. I can click here and I can say, you know what, I want a button, but it is not listed here. So I look for a button that says more commands, and I click it. And in this more commands, it's showing me that, you see, I can add any buttons I want and I can add it to my list. But you see right now it's showing me like 20 or 30 some commands. So if you look on the top, it says popular commands. So if I change this to all commands, and now look at the list, I'm just going to left click and hold this bar and I can drag it down. Or you can just point to it and start clicking and it will start to go down. And the other way is you click on any one of them and type the initial characters. If I type S, it goes to the S section and I can scroll down. And if I type X, it comes to the X section. So this is a really good way to skip through different sections, and you can do it anywhere in the computer. In many different programs, this option is available. So you can change it, and you can also go to, like, say I just want the home tab. So I can choose these things. So that's the quick access toolbar that can be highly customized. So I can have all my important buttons here that can be accessed quickly. Now if you look here, we have this home button, insert button with buttons inside it. You can actually create your own tab and then put all your important buttons in it if you would like it. So there are a couple of ways of doing that. This way you don't have to have buttons in different places. So if I go here and I go to the more commands, and then from here I go to customize ribbon, or I go to the file button and I click on options, and then from here I go to customize ribbon. And you see up here on the right hand side, you see these tabs: home, insert, design, and all of these tabs are added. So if I wanted, I can create a new tab and I can rename this, and I'll just call it test, or you can give it your name. And now in here I can start creating groups. So you see up here there is the clipboard group. Within that there are different buttons. So if I want, I can rename this and I'll just call it ABC. And now in here I'll start adding some buttons. So I'll take the bullets, add it there, breaks, add it there. So you see now it's getting added in this group. Now I can just click here, and in here I can add a new group and I can rename it. Click OK. Now within this I can start adding some more. So I'm just adding some So you can customize it and add all the important buttons that you need, and you can group it in one place. And I'll just click OK right now. And now we see next to home there is a test tab, and you see that ABC group, and these are the ones here, XYZ, and here are the buttons that I added. So this is really handy that you can customize and bring all the important buttons you use in one place. And this is also available in Office 2010, and this is also available in all of Microsoft Office program, not just in Word. So I can click here again, more commands, customize ribbon, and then if I want I can remove the check mark and I can click OK. And you can also move up and down, so I can make the location higher or lower on the list, and how do I want to arrange it. And I click OK, and now you see the test is no longer there. So this is the basic idea of the interface. Now let's just start doing a little bit of Microsoft Word. As I mentioned, Word is used for typing, so I'll start typing. I type my name. Now remember, when you are typing a capital letter, hold the shift key down on the keyboard while you are holding it. That's when you type the character. Don't use the caps lock, because then you have to press it again to turn it off. So when you hold the shift key down and you press a character, it puts it uppercase. And then I hit enter, and now I can start typing. Now what happens is when I hit enter, you see it left an empty line there, and I don't want it to do that. So what I do is I bring my mouse close to my name, left click and hold it, go across, and also come down because I hit enter. So if I don't highlight this, the change I'm about to make, it will not apply to that. So I highlight it, and now I make it no spacing. So there is this section here called style. Right now it is using this normal style, and normal style for whatever reason has been decided that it's going to be double spacing. This is what's called double spacing, means leaving an empty line, but we want it to be single space. So I'm going to bring my mouse close to it, left click and hold the left click on the mouse, and then I just drag my mouse over it and come down because I want to highlight the bottom line, and then I make it no spacing. Now when I click under my name, there it is. So now from now onwards everything will be no spacing. So say if I just want to put an address, when I want to go to the next line, I hit enter. So you only hit enter when you want to go to the next line. Okay. So that's the basic idea when it comes to entering. Now if I wanted to delete something, or also what will be called editing, so let's talk about that. So say I made a mistake with my city, that whole city, or I changed my address. So say I'm no longer at 123 Bloor Street, so I can highlight the line. So I always like to get close to the word, left click and hold it and just drag it. You can also use this arrow. You see when I point it, it highlights it. So you can do that too, and you can also use it to highlight more than one. So it's up to you what you prefer, and I'm in the habit of going from left to right rather than right to left, so you can find the right thing. So if I highlight it, and I can start typing else over it. So this is called writing over it. So you highlight it and you can start typing over it. Now if I highlight something and I hit the delete button on the keyboard, it deletes the word, and now I can type anything else over it. Or I just highlight the word and I can just start typing the word over it. So this is called writing over, overwriting it. So that's the idea of one idea of editing. If I just want to highlight one word, I can just do it like this and then start typing. A shortcut way of highlighting a word is by double clicking. When you double click, it highlights the word. Now if I wanted to put my middle initial between my name, first and last name, I click here and then I can put whatever the initial is and then the dot. So wherever you want to insert something, you click next to it. Now I want to put a space. and add something, I can do that. So it's this insertion point, this line, it's called the insertion point. And you can also use the arrows on the keyboard to go up and down, and also left and right. So you got the arrows on the keyboard, and I can also just click with my mouse. Now if I want to just remove this A dot that I type because I don't need it, I can even click next to it here. And if you look on your keyboard, you have a backspace button. The backspace button is going in the direction towards the left. So you have to be on the right hand side of the word, because I'm going to start hitting the backspace because it's going to go in the left of that. So it's going to start putting everything away. So I've just removed the word and everything else. So I can click next to the H next to Joseph, and if I hit backspace, now if I wanted to remove Henry, but I didn't want to use backspace, I wanted to use the word delete, so I could highlight and hit delete. Or if I click in front of the word H and I start using the delete button, it deletes it. Delete is like a suction, so you have to be in front of your cursor. Your insertion point has to be in the front. So now if I hit backspace, it's going to remove the empty space between 6 and the line, and if I hit one more backspace, it removes 5. But now if I hit delete, it's going to start removing the S and the T. So backspace and delete do the same thing, it's just from a different direction. So for backspace, you be on the right hand side of the word, so I can hit backspace. And for delete, you have to be in front of the word, and then you start hitting delete. So that's backspace and delete. Now here is another feature why you want to know backspace and delete. And whatever you are learning here, it also applies to a lot of other programs and also in your emails. So say for example, I want to make this postal code part of this Ontario, because this is the city, this is the name of the province that Toronto is in, and I want to put Ontario and the postal code right next to it. So I click my cursor here and I hit backspace. When I hit backspace, both the lines are joined together. I can put a comma and I can put a space. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time, and I'll introduce to you the undo button. So you see this button here, it's going backwards. When I point to it, it says undo. Undo means go back one step, go back one more step, even one more step. So I can go back all the way to the first step that I did when I typed my name. So if I hit undo one time, it removes the comma. One more time, it comes down. So there were 2 steps. And if I do more, it will do even more steps. It remembers a lot of the steps. And if I click on the drop down, it shows me everything that I've seen since the start, starting with my name. So I'll just do this one more time. I click next to the M, I hit the backspace, and it is joined. If I want to bring it back down together without using the undo button, because you don't want to be just using undo, you want to learn. If I hit enter, because my cursor is in front of M, if I hit enter, everything gets moved. And if I keep hitting enter, that means I'm creating a distance between it. And if I hit backspace, it brings it back up. Enter means everything after that move down. I can even come here, left click and hold it, go across, come down, highlight the empty space, and I hit delete, and now it removes all the empty lines. Now if I wanted, I could click here and I can use the delete button on the keyboard, and it might just say DEL on your keyboard instead of the whole word delete. It's usually on the top line, on the top, on the right hand side kind of. So if my cursor is next to the Ontario O, and if I hit delete, because delete is like a suction, it will suck the bottom line up. I can put a comma and then a space. If I want to go back and I don't want to use the undo button, I can use backspace, remove everything, hit enter, and I can hit enter, 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 enter. Now if I put my cursor here or here, I start hitting the delete button, so delete is going to start sucking the lines up. So backspace and delete also come into play here. Now before we go ahead, let's save our work. It's always important to save your work, because if something happened to the computer, you may lose your information. If you save your work, even if your computer dies, there's a good chance your information is saved in your computer. You may lose the last few minutes of the file, but not the whole document. To save it, you can do it two ways. One is by using the save button here on the top. It's the floppy button. Or you can go to File and then click on Save. Now this is the new way of saving. Now Microsoft has a thing called SkyDrive, which I heard that name might be changing, which is their cloud service. Cloud service means your files are saved on this computer and also on the internet, so you can access it from anywhere in the world. And you are syncing it, so anytime you make any changes here, it also makes changes there. You check your email from some other computer and you make changes to your SkyDrive, file, the changes will also show up on this computer. So for that, you need to sign in. So if you look on the right, there's a sign in option that you have to do. But I want to save it to the computer. But I always like to create folders, so I can browse to where I want to save it. So I click Browse. And now say I already have a Word file folder, so I can double click on it. But say I wanted to create a folder called Word 2013, then I can create a new folder. So there is the button for it. If you have Windows XP, you'll see it up here. There's a good chance that you've got Windows 7, so there will be new folder there. Or you can right click here on the mouse. You got the left and the right click. You go to New, and then you choose New Folder. So always think of right click. Right click means show me what can I do with what I'm right clicking. I'll click on New Folder, and then I'll give it the word Word 2013, and I'll take my mouse and double click on it. And for the file name, I'll just call it Amir Word Video 1, or whatever you want to call it. So I can do that. And in the save as type, this is something you may not need to use anymore, but if you wanted to, you could save it as a Word 97 and 2003 format. So the previous version of Microsoft Word, people, if they had it, they'll be able to open this file. At least now there are add-ons for them too, but this way you can make sure. And I hit save. Now if you look on the top, it says Amir Word Video 1, and this is called the title bar. It just tells you the name of the file and the program Word that you are using. And while we are on the top, there is a button here. The minus sign stands for minimize, so I can minimize it. That means sit in the bottom. This is to make your screen big or small, and this is to exit out of Word. The question mark is for help. If you had some questions, you can go into the help section, type a topic, and you'll get some answers. And there's some display options here. So this ribbon display options, when I click it, I can choose to auto hide ribbon. And you see all the ribbons are hiding. I don't even see my tabs. And another option is show the tabs, so I only see the tabs. And another option is show tabs and the commands. That is, show me the tabs and the ribbons. That they are using the word commands in this place. So you can always use these options. So now my file has been saved. Let's look at now cutting, copying, and pasting. And remember that whenever you want to practice these things, just pause the video and you can practice as you want it. Just gonna make it fit. So I want to talk about copying, cutting, and pasting. So I'm just going to type certain things. I'm just going to pause the video for a minute. So I've just typed the 2 lines here to explain to you what the concept behind cutting and copying and pastings are. So I have this 4, 1, 2, 3, and what I want to do is I want to put things in order. So I want to put 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I want, I can do it a couple of ways. I can highlight the word 4, and I use this scissor button, which stands for cut. I cut it. Cut means remove it from here. Now I want to move it to the end, so I'm going to make sure I click there and I put a space because I need a space between them, and I hit the paste button on the top itself. You can go to the drop down button and hit paste. but I'll just hit on the top, and you see the word's been moved. And I can rearrange the words as I want it. I can take the word to, cut it, and I click after the word for, put a space, and I can hit paste. I can highlight the word 3. Now if you want, you can point to it, make sure you point to it, and right click, and now you can choose cut. And then I can choose a new location. So say I want to put it up here, so I click there and I hit paste. So you can move things around, and you can move even more than one word, one line. It's all about highlighting. Highlighting tells the computer, I want to do something with this. And we'll be talking about this as we go forward. And highlighting is a really crucial element because that tells the computer what you want to do. And you get this window here which is asking you, how do you want to paste it? Do you want to keep the text only? If there was some formatting there, which we'll talk about later. But for now you can ignore this. Now I want to highlight this, and I'm going to copy instead of cut. Copy means when I copy it, you see that line stays there. Copy means leave it there, and I'll click here, enter, and I'll hit paste. So now I have it two different places. So that's the difference between cut and paste. Cut means remove it from there and put it here. Copy means leave it there and also leave a copy here. So you have it in two different places. And I could just highlight this, and I can copy it, and say I can even highlight all of this, and I can paste it over it. So while it is pasting, it will even delete the two lines that I had added, and it puts stuff on it. So this is copying and pasting, and the other idea is cutting and pasting. And I can hit undo if I don't want it, and I'm just going to highlight everything. Now just want to talk about two more things in this video, which is about when you want to type a paragraph, what to do, and also the idea of printing. So I'm just going to type something, and what I want you to do is watch what happens when you come to the end of the line. I'm just going to pause for a minute. So I'm just typing, I just added some more words. Now what I want you to do is watch what happens when I come to the end of the line as I'm typing. I'm not going to hit enter. Word will automatically bring me down. So it is available in the stores now. So you see, as I continue typing, it automatically brought me down. Because when you are writing a paragraph, you don't want to hit a enter after every line. You only hit enter when you finish typing a paragraph, and a paragraph is usually 5 to 6 lines long, maybe more. Maybe you have 4 to 5 different sentences. So the only time you will start hitting enter is when you are done with the paragraph. That means I want to start a new paragraph. So keep in mind that when you're writing a paragraph, do not hit enter. Here I was hitting an enter because I needed to go to the next line and start this, because this is a brand new line. So I did that, but in this case I didn't have to do it. It automatically brought me around. So the last thing for today that I want to talk about in this video is if I go to this print preview button, which I added earlier, and here I can see the preview. You see the preview, and I'm just going to use the plus sign in the right hand corner to make the screen bigger. So you can do that, but it gives you a snapshot of what your document looks like, of the spaces being left. And look on the left hand side, I can choose to print. I can choose how many copies do you want. You can choose a printer. So if you have in the company or at work or at home, you have more than one printer, you can choose that. And there are other options. If you wanted to print it 2 sides, if your printer allowed that to happen. You can choose the size of the paper. By default it is 8.5 times 11, but you can change it to 8 times 14, which is the legal paper. You can choose to print, say I wanted to squeeze it, so I can say print 2 pages per sheet. So it will force the information into one sheet from 2 pages, and you can do that for more. By default it is 1 page, 1. You can also choose to print what pages. So say if I had a 20-page document, and if you see in the example the information that's popping up, and it gives you on the last line type 1, 3. So if I had a 20-page document and I wanted to print page 5, I can put 5. Then I want to put a comma, and then I wanted page 11. I put a comma, and then I wanted page number 12 to, so I put a dash, say 18, and then comma, I want page number 20. So I'm putting a space after the comma. You don't even have to do it. It will work. So this is a way to control the kind of papers, the pages you want to print when you have more than one page to print. By default, it will print all your pages. And there is this option here called collated. Collated means that right now it is set to collated. That is, if I had 5 pages in this document, that is, my document was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, and I was printing 3 copies, it will print the whole set together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I choose this option, the uncollated, then it will put 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Then I have to put it together. So that's the difference between collated and uncollated. And if I want to get out of here, I can just hit the back button, so I can come back here. Now I can go to print from file, and then I can click print, and I come back to the same window, you see. So I can see my print preview, and then I can hit print. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll start to talk a little bit more about some of the buttons under here and start adding more elements. Thank you for watching. The wording, some interface issues. So there's the file button, under which you have saving options, printing options, sharing options, exporting options, and then closing a file. And you can also go to the options for Word options. So this is what I think they call it, like the backstage kind of a thing. So when I click on it, I'll get an options window in which I get to go and make major changes to it. I'll get to it in one of my other videos, but you see I can put my username, what's my name, so my files will have that. You can download the template and then just fill in the information, and you can go by different categories. I'm just gonna hit back. And they also have like resumes and cards and calendars. They have different templates that you can download, and you can change the pictures on it, the wordings on it, and make it the way you want it to be. And usually your recent documents will show up here on the left hand side, and you can always open on the left hand corner. You can always open your existing document if it's not listed here. Now I just want to do a blank one, so I'm just going to click on the blank, and it opens up like this. Now for some reason my ribbons are hiding, so I'm just going to double click here on the word home, and it should show up. So what happens is these are called tabs and these are called ribbons. So if by mistake I double click on it, it is hiding. It shows up when I click on it, and it hides when I click away. So just double click on it one more time if it ever happens like that, so it stays there. Now you never have to double click, you just click one time. So before we get to the actual word, let's look at some of cutting and pasting, saving and printing. So I'll be doing it step by step and taking you forward, so hopefully in 4 to 5 videos give you a really good foundation that you can say that you know Microsoft Word, and you can put that in your resume. So when I started Microsoft Word, this is the way it opens up. There are some samples here that they have quite a few samples that you can pick from. So you can see really interesting things, and then you just have to go in and fill in the information, and this will be downloaded from the internet. They also have like different, like for letters, they have templates already built for letters. So this is the first video in the series for Microsoft Word 2013. And so this is going to be like a really basic introduction for anybody who hasn't used Microsoft Word before, and this is the first program, the first version that they're starting to use with, or you haven't used Microsoft Word in a while. So in this video I'm going to talk about the basic interface. I'm going to talk about entering, editing information, because Word is used for entering data like letters or typing pages and research papers. We'll also try to look about highlighting and